Hi guys! This video will not feature me. I asked on Tumblr if it would be okay, because the sister wants to do a video on here, just a guest video talking about writing, because Kate was talking about writing and she thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about. So I asked you guys on Tumblr, and I realized just now that not everyone has Tumblr, and I feel stupid. But, the people who did reply to that were A-okay about the sister coming and talking, so without further ado, the sister! Woo!
So, for those of you that don't know, the reason that I asked to do a guest video, the reason I'm actually doing a guest video is because Kate asked people how they write novels, and I write stuff, so I thought I got really excited, and I'm like, I wanted to say something too, so now here I am saying something. So for this video I'm just going to talk about what I've done with the novel that I did for Camp NaNoWriMo. I'm just going to do that, and if you guys want to know what I would do after that, because when I think of writing a novel, I don't think of just writing the first draft. Like, there's the editing and the polishing and the stuff that's all much more coherent to my outline than this. But if you guys want to know what I would do after the point where I'm at, then I can put up is getting an idea, because you can't write a novel if you have no idea what the heck you're writing about. And even if you're being a pantser, which is flying by the seat of your pants, which means you don't plan anything at all, you still start off with something. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna write about a post-apocalyptic world where the main character is the only one I'm stealing from selling. Okay, so first thing you do is you get an idea, and that doesn't even take any work. You can just like go and look outside and be like, oh my gosh, that's a really cool tree, I wonder if there would be a story about that. And there you go, that's an idea that you can actually potentially use for a story. Capturing that inspiration, so you have this inspiration and it's there in your mind and you're all excited about this possible story, and you're like, I didn't know what the story is about. So what you do is, or what I do, is I go and I write it down. I just write down, like, what is it about that thing, that tree? What is it about that tree that got me really excited? What is it that I want to write about? Like, what? And just kind of work through that until eventually, like, I start getting to the point where I'm like, okay, there's a story in here. I've gotten through all the muck, all of the stuff that actually has nothing to do with, instead, whatever the heck this thing is, and get that inspiration down. Actually planning out the book. So there's two mini parts to that. Figuring out the characters, so what are these characters all like, how do they kind of fit together, figuring out the world, like the setting that this all takes place in, and because I like to write fantasy, so, you know, kind of need to figure out magic and creatures and all that really cool stuff. And what is this story about, and what could possibly be the ending, and all that kind of stuff, and that eventually morphs on over into the second part of step 3. I start figuring out the plot line of the story, and so I do this completely out of order. I kind of vaguely start at the beginning, maybe, sometimes. For this novel, I didn't. And I'm just figuring out, why is this character doing this, why is that, and I write what I can until I realize I have to figure out something else, like, why is the antagonist doing this? I don't even understand what the point of them is, and so then I have to go and figure that all out. And once I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I have now planned out the entire story, it's completely out of order, I don't care, I go to step 4, writing an outline, which is taking all of that mashup mess that I have there and putting it in order, and doing it in such a way so that while it gives me, like, points where I'm going to be hitting, basically, like, different things that are going to happen, I also leave myself lots of room, and the way I do that is I make very good use of the phrase, and then a miracle occurred. That was actually how I described the climax. I'm like, and then a miracle occurred, and when I went to go write the book, then I figured out the miracle. Is when I actually go and I write the first draft, and I do that in complete chronological order, like beginning to end, right in order, because I've done everything else out of order, and I figured out everything else, and I want to do this because stuff that happens in the beginning of the story affects the ending, and so when I'm writing the first draft, it's kind of a discovery process for me, and so I'm writing a whole bunch of new little things that I didn't plan in the outline, and kind of I derail from the outline, and things happen and whatever, and I mostly follow This one I mostly followed the outline, but especially the ending, when the thing that I thought was going to be the climax actually ended up not being the climax, something else happened, so like, just things like that because of how the story develops. So I write that in order so that I can see as the story is developing all these wonderful things that are happening. It's cool. You take a break. You do, if you have to like work on other story stuff, then you work on that, but you like at least like a day at minimum, an entire 24-hour period where you take a complete and total break from that story and you don't think about it, you don't do anything with it, you don't nothing, and well, you try not to think about it. Yeah, ideally maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe work on a different project, but you take a break. That's what I'm doing right now, because I'm working on revising the anthology. Beyond that, I actually haven't done anything beyond this for writing a novel. This is the farthest I've gone, is finishing a first draft, so everything else I'm just making up as I go. If you want to know about what's going to be happening next in my plans, then click a link. The link. So that's me on writing a novel, and I'm not a nerd fighter, but DFTBA.